2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
This year, America turns 250, and News Talk STL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. News Talk STL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration, Whistle Pig Outdoors, and Alamo Military Collectibles. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by STL Fenceworks, celebrating 50 years of industry-leading service for fence, deck, and leisure space solutions. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Monday to all of you and yours. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL, the 3-martini lunch, Common Sense Radio. Jamie Allman here, Ashland over there, and a happy President's Day to all of you and yours. Don't forget, I know that Vic and Ken gave away a couple of these babies. I've got one to give away, and it is the President Trump bobblehead. So keep a listening, and then what I'll do is I'll have you call into the show, and I'll give a number, and Ashland will answer the phone, and if you're that number, then you will win said bobblehead, and you can come here to pick it up whenever you want. I mean, within business hours, that kind of thing. You know, I got this. I accidentally did this. I normally don't drink soda, coffee or water, but I got this thing, and I didn't realize it was a Cherry Coke Zero. It's not half bad. I don't think I've ever had a Cherry Coke before, so that's pretty good. Oh, I got to tell you, I sometimes St. Louis can be frustrating. Other times St. Louis can be very, very lovable. And I was thinking about these people. I don't know whether you saw the crowds down in Soulard for Mardi Gras, and because I think we have like the second biggest Mardi Gras celebration aside from New Orleans. And I got to hand it to the people who went to Mardi Gras, because it rained like all day long. And I was just thinking about these people down there. I'm going, man, you St. Louisans, you Soulardians, you people, you've got some heart there to be out there in the Phil with gross. Yeah, Phil, you don't have to chime in every time. Whenever I say, if I dare say mayonnaise, watch out, because Phil will go on an extra special tirade. And yeah, Cherry Coke, to tell you the truth, does taste a little bit like medicine, which is kind of weird. It tastes almost like cherry cough syrup. So I wouldn't normally, and heaven forbid, can you imagine having vanilla Coke? I mean, who does that? Seriously. What? You like vanilla Coke, Ashen?
I actually get cherry vanilla.
Oh, cherry vanilla. So you mix it all together. Okay. Well, with enough rum in it, I'm sure it's fantastic. I don't know. I've never really gotten. I guess it's because growing up the way I did, we barely even had soda. So you weren't. If you had soda, somebody was getting married or something, or somebody was graduating at the house. But so you certainly weren't going to get fancy. So I mean, with the exception of like maybe you had Vess, and there was always the cream soda that the 4 cans that were left in the cooler all the time because nobody actually consumes cream soda. I don't know why it's there. It's kind of probably some deep state fake out diversion, but I don't think anybody really drinks cream soda. So yeah, you had orange and root beer, you had grape, nothing better than a grape soda, baby. Knee-high grape soda usually. Oh no, Fanta is where it's at. But again, that was only on vacation. So when we were at home, it was always like Vess or the ghetto IGA brand of soda, but it didn't matter. I mean, soda, it was so special. So no, we didn't really get too fancy with that stuff. All right. So later on, of course, I'm going to tell you all who my favorite president in history was. I think I have a brand new one that will accompany him in my history books, and his name is President Donald Trump. But later on, I'll play you something super important. You guys probably already know, so it's not much of a surprise, but I want to kind of reminisce because it's a great speech by my other favorite president. And it was the first time in history that a president had ever been both recorded on film as well as sound. And he did it right there on the White House lawn. So I will be bringing that to you a little later on. In the meantime, I want to acknowledge somebody who was exceedingly presidential over the weekend, even though he's not president. And that was Marco Rubio, who I got to tell you, this Munich conference was pretty crazy. I mean, it was a disaster for the likes of Kamala Harris's stepdaughter, Ocasio-Cortez. I'm almost positive they're related based on just really how crazy Ocasio-Cortez was over there. So they're now calling her Kamala 2.0 as a result, and I'll be bringing you that just a little later on. But Marco Rubio on the Munich stage there, I will tell you, really was great. I was so proud to have him representing us over there, and very statesmanlike, pretty amazing, and he was basically telling Europe that they need to get their act together, and it's super important. I've alluded to this before, because the United States of America has nothing to apologize for to Europe. I'm actually surprised Europe is in a constant state of being on its knees, thanking the Lord Jesus Christ for the United States of America. As much as we have bailed them out, World War I, World War II, I mean, you name it, and unfortunately, there's a pattern here for the European nations, and that is they're pansies. They are easily taken over. And you saw what happened in France and beyond. The Nazis all rolled in there and just, I mean, the book of French war heroes is like a page long. These people don't defend themselves, and now they're doing it again because they are essentially in a constant state of just allowing migrants to take them over and colonize them. And Marco Rubio basically said that you need to get your act together because we're not doing this again. We're not coming and rescuing you from the jihadists and the crazy Muslims who are taking over your country. We're not liberating you again. You need to start making moves to liberate yourself. I thought it was a great speech.
Had come to an end, and that our future was destined to be a faint and feeble echo of our past. But together, our predecessors recognized that decline was a choice, and it was a choice they refused to make. This is what we did together once before, and this is what President Trump and the United States want to do again now, together with you. And this is why we do not want our allies to be weak, because that makes us weaker. We want allies who can defend themselves so that no adversary will ever be tempted to test our collective strength. This is why we do not want our allies to be shackled by guilt and shame. We want allies who are proud of their culture and of their heritage.
And that's a primary problem that has been in Germany, that has been in France, is the Germans are so crazy fearful of being nationalistic again because they remember last time that happened, 6 million Jews died. So they're in a constant state of apology for who they are. And, you know, it's right to be remorseful about what happened. It's another thing just to allow your country then to get taken over. And for you to stop going to church, stop flying the German flag and everything else. But, you know, it's a psychological problem Germany has. You go over there and you can't take a tour of anything in Germany without the bus tour announcer apologizing for the Holocaust. So you've got that going for you. And, of course, the French are just basically innately feeble. It's kind of in their DNA. And so, yeah, there are some patriots there. You saw the patriots who are out there right now on the streets in France because the Antifa folks killed somebody who was protecting a group of females who were protesting against Antifa and mass migration and beyond. So there's some degree of spotty bravery. And, of course, the UK has all but given up, but the UK really had nothing but a bunch of inbred royals and double-decker buses. That's really all the United Kingdom really has, mostly Britain. And then Scotland and Ireland are doing the same thing. They're just handing it over to the Muslims. And again, this is an anti-Muslim thing. This is a protect your culture thing. This is a stand up and be nationalistic thing. This is take pride in who you are and not guilt in who you are. And that's one thing that I will tell you on this President's Day, that President Trump has really infused in this country again, which I'm really super happy about, is a level of brave patriotism that is fearless. We're no longer afraid to be American. We're no longer afraid to talk about the primacy of the English language. We're no longer afraid to express our religious views openly and beyond. And I will tell you, though, man, I was driving around showing houses, and I was in South County and drove by a church, and it was one of these, it was like a faith church, except I can't remember what the name of it was. And, man, that parking lot it looked like Six Flags. It was crazy. And I was like, wow, that is really super cool that people are starting to go back to church, flooding the churches, everything else. And President Trump has basically opened up those gates for us in a lot of ways. And the resurgence of patriotism, the resurgence of an honor of our flag, a resurgence in pride and bravery in facing off against the deep state and the two-party, uniparty system that we have that has been so damaging to us, even to the point where we, who are supportive of President Trump, don't even feel an allegiance to Republicans, which I think is a good thing, and I'll talk about that a little later on, because we're now kind of our own brand now, thanks to President Trump. And so what Rubio's trying to tell these other nations is stop being afraid of who you are. Thankfully, we were able to grab victory out of the jaws of defeat. First with President Trump's first term, then, of course, the election was stolen, and now with his second term, And so it's a new day. I'm really so happy. You know, we had to live with it for so long. Cancel culture, the lack of pride in who we are, being white, for instance, or even now being black, and we had to live through it. But the good news is, and I could feel it in my children, that our children are going to be growing up in a far different country than what we grew up in and had to deal with and everything else, constantly checking ourselves, watching people get fired over nonsense, mobs of left-wing people, that kind of thing. So Rubio's just telling them, listen, we had the chance. When we were strong, we came in and saved you from your own weaknesses. We're strong again, but we're not going to come in and save you again.
Who understand that we are heirs to the same great and noble civilization, and who together with us are willing and able to defend it. And this is why we do not want allies to rationalize the broken status quo rather than reckon with what is necessary to fix it. For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline.
Nice. Nice. That is nice. That is great to hear. Rubio, just an amazing presence in Munich and exceedingly presidential. And he was blunt. Of course, the Euro trash didn't like it because they don't like being told that they have to bone up a little bit and bolster themselves. But this was an historic speech. You talk about all the great presidential speeches, and a lot of them happen to belong to Donald J. Trump. But this was the warning to the Euro trash, who didn't like it, by the way. They don't like it because they're like children who suddenly have to kind of clean up their room or mow the lawn or do some work. I'm not giving you allowance. It's part of your duty to the household. I'm not paying you to clean. But anyway, they're so petulant, and we're tired of them. And so is President Trump, and so is Marco Rubio.
Status quo, rather than reckon with what is necessary to fix it. For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline.
Yeah, that's a really well-written speech, too. And it is, when he calls it a managed decline, that's exactly what it is. They're systematically allowing themselves to be cucked by mass migration. And it was just wonderful to see this. Really so proud. I mean, of course, Hillary had to come in and basically ruin everything, but so did Ocasio-Cortez. But it's not that big of a deal. I don't even know why they were there. But what was Ocasio-Cortez doing at the Munich Security Conference? And what was Hillary Clinton, who oversaw the raid in Benghazi? She wouldn't know security if it crawled up her pants leg, if it could get past her cankles. My goodness gracious. What was she doing there? Anyway, Marco had something special to say, too, because, the news media, what they would do is when Marco Rubio was there with some other emissary from another country, the reporters would all ask the emissary from the other country to try to remind them, well, you criticized the U.S. for this. You trying to get them to fight. And, of course, Rubio, in a very balanced fashion, decided to go ahead and nail them to the wall. I will tell you that even though some of the European leaders didn't like Rubio's speech, he did get a standing ovation for his speech. I didn't want to not mention that part of it, but here's Marco when he finally clapped back at the reporter who was trying to get one of his co-news conference guys to go after him. Hang on a second. I'm trying to play this video off of the internet. It's just a debacle. Here you go. Okay. It's not working for me because it keeps turning off. Hang on a second here. Golly. I'm having such problems with this. Let's see. Let me see if I can do it this way. Hold on a second, people. I got it.
Like, see if you can get him against. One more point, because I think you asked him a question in order to see if you can get him against us with something about, oh, you criticize. A lot of countries didn't like what we did in Venezuela. That's okay. That was in our national interest. I'm sure there's something he'll do one day that we don't like, and we'll say, hey, we didn't like you did this. So what? That doesn't mean we're not going to be friends, we're not going to be partners, we're not going to be able to cooperate with one another. Countries express their opinion all the time. We have very close allies that didn't like what we did in that regard. I can tell you what, it was successful. We're proud of it. It was necessary because the guy was a narco-terrorist, and we made him a bunch of offers, and he chose to tore them all down. And look what's happened in Venezuela in the 6 weeks since he's been gone. Okay, now it's got a long way to go. There's still much work that needs to be done, but I can tell you Venezuela is much better off today than it was 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, so buzz off, says Marco. And you know what the great thing really about all this in the end was? That this was such a sign that President Trump really has the utmost trust in Marco Rubio. And I thought it was really great that President Trump decided, I don't have to go there. I don't want to make this all about me. And by the way, it's nice sometimes to have a fresh face, especially if you can trust the fresh face in the form of Marco Rubio. It adds another dimension. It's not President Trump giving up by any stretch of the imagination or kowtowing to criticism of him. But what it does is it takes the whole TDS part out of the equation, and they're going to have to listen to Marco Rubio as a representative of the U.S. and the Trump administration. But the fact of the matter is, this was a great move, a smart move, and yet another example of President Trump and his trust of his cabinet, which is really, really great. So,
I want to take the train with you. I want to run away with you. Come on, run away with me.
good afternoon, everyone. And by the way,
I got a secret window.
I was going to have Jim Talon on, but you wouldn't believe what he's doing today. It's crazy. He'll be on with us tomorrow, but I'll tell you about that coming up. Also, I warned you all. I told you guys I never trust Bill Maher. Sometimes we make this big mistake as conservatives. Like Bill Maher will say something that sounds like it makes common sense, and then we'll play his sound. But, oh, look what Bill Maher had to say. But we kind of gotten over that because I warned you, never trust him. It's kind of like Stephen A. Smith. And it's like, you guys, don't put your eggs in any of the baskets of these guys. They're grifters, they're confidence men, and Maher proves it. I'll show you on the other end of this. And don't forget, our President Trump President's Day bobblehead giveaway is going to be happening during the show. I'll give out a number and the caller number that wins, and we'll be off to the races. Happy President's Day. It's Common Sense Radio.
This app is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Well, here we go. Natalie's Jeep has the check engine light on, and guess where I'm going to make sure that everything is okay and get it all taken care of for her. I am going to Benchmark Complete Auto in Valley Park. That is where I am taking all of my vehicles. Just went there to get a set of brand new tires. Gene Bentrup, an old friend of mine, he and I used to coach baseball together with the boys, and just a great guy, and has expanded his bays there at Benchmark Auto Repair, and so you're not going to have to wait long. In fact, it was funny. I could have probably picked up my Jeep the same day. That's how fast they operate, and also operating in the kind of fashion that you would expect and deserve, and that is where, going to an auto mechanic sometimes can be a pretty crazy kind of experience because you're thinking, oh, this is going to cost me a lot of money. Oh, they can just make something up and charge me for that or do whatever. No. Gene makes it part of his policy. It's part of his humanity. It's part of the way he has been raised and is raising his son and is operating the business, and that is with integrity, honesty, and wanting you to come back. So, some mechanics, they're one up. You take something in there, they'll go ahead and bend you over, and you'll never be back again. But Gene wants you to come back. He wants you to have the Benchmark Auto Repair in Valley Park kind of run in the family, and that's exactly what I am doing. Benchmark Complete Auto, Valley Park, family-owned, operated more than 25 years. A Napa Auto Care Center, oil changes, wheel alignments, inspections, expert diagnostics and repairs. And here's the deal. They're going to give you a warranty, and it's on all qualified repairs. So 12-month, 12,000-mile warranty. Now, let me tell you something. 12 months, 12,000 miles. You're not going to find that kind of guarantee of their hard and excellent work. You're not going to find that pretty much anywhere else. It's pretty rare even to have any warranty at all. But this is what you get. 12-month or 12,000-mile warranty on qualified repairs. Mention my name. You're going to get a 10% discount. And all you have to do is check them out at benchmarkautorepair.com. Benchmarkautorepair.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
Does the name Vanessa Williams mean anything to you? Your knowledge might depend on your age and your reading material. In September 1983, Vanessa Williams was then the first black Miss America. By the following September, she had resigned because nude pictures of her showed up in Penthouse magazine, a rival to Playboy magazine, also filled with great articles if you were reading instead of flipping pages. 2 years before, she had agreed to pose nude for a photographer. Only after he agreed, you'll be in silhouette, no one will be able to recognize you. Well, when she became Miss America, the photographer made some fast cash, sold the photos to Penthouse, which quickly printed them. Such an uproar that Vanessa resigned her crown. Now we have a different age and a 2024 winner of a Miss North Florida contest, stripped of her chance to be Miss America. She did not appear nude. But what she did do, they disqualified her. She refused to sign a deal that made it appear she supported transgenderism and would support a transgender winner. Where is the justice? There isn't any.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
I think you're a little confused.
News, analysis, opinion.
I've got something to say and I can't hold it any longer.
101.9 and 94.1.
You won't hear the truth anywhere but here. News Talk STL.
News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Happy President's Day to all of you and yours. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, Ashlyn over there, and man, President's Day already. And then tomorrow it's Fat Tuesday. Wednesday, it's Ash Wednesday. It's crazy. This week's going to be like 60, 70 degrees, and it's going to feel like summertime, springtime. I was remembering, though, I know March. My birthday's during March, and one day, it was my birthday, and it snowed so heavily that they canceled school. And that was a long time ago. In those days, they didn't just, we all walked to school, so they never canceled school. That's how bad it snowed, or badly it snowed in March. So be careful. I've been at Easter egg hunts with the kids when it was snowing. So that I don't mean to, really make you kill the buzz here, but yeah, that's it. All right, so I've often talked about this. Bill Maher is a shyster. Bill Maher is the kind of guy who you can't trust. And I don't know why we keep trusting him all the time. I don't know why we're always, Bill Maher said, something positive about Trump or whatever. And then we play him like he's some kind of American hero because Bill Maher said something that wasn't obnoxious. And then I think he had dinner with President Trump, right? Whatever. He just is a absolute confidence man and a shyster, and I don't really buy him, and so I don't trust him. So, and oftentimes, sometimes we conservatives, not all of us, but sometimes some of us, are sometimes maybe not confident enough, so that we need the approval of bad people like Stephen A. Smith or Bill Maher or something like that. And then when they say something nice about us or they say something that we agree with, we celebrate it like it's amazing. By the way, I hate to announce this, but Robert Duvall has died at the age of 95. So, man, between that and Gene Hackman, all the guys I basically grew up watching every movie in the 60s and 70s are dying off. And I guess that's the way things go. Anyway, this is a great one. This is Bill Maher with Wesley Hunt, and this is great because Wesley Hunt's a good guy. He's not a fire-breathing conservative or a fire-breathing liberal. And the fact of the matter is, Wesley Hunt's on with them, and Bill Maher, in a cynical attempt here, tries to get him, play the race game, because that's what white liberals do. Is they love to make black people uneasy, or maybe feel discriminated against, or they want to remind them that this is a racist country and everything else. The country that elected Barack Obama, that one. They want to keep. They always want to kind of poke at open wounds or even open new wounds. So this is what Bill Maher had to say, and it's always good to see him get schooled sometimes.
Trump is putting the Robert E. Lee name back on buildings. I mean, are you down with that?
So when I was at West Point, I actually lived in Robert E. Lee Barracks when I was there. And as I said,
Robert E. Lee went to West Point.
Yes, he did. That's why the barracks is named after him. My brother, sister, and I are matriculated through West Point. We all graduated. And I'll never forget walking under the threshold of Robert E. Lee Barracks and think to myself, damn, this is one hell of a country. Because only in America can someone like me walk into a building named after a Confederate general and then be a successful West Point graduate. If we start changing the names on buildings, then every single building would be named Jesus Christ based on perfection. I bring that up because I want to talk about the progress, and the idea of us changing names on buildings actually doesn't harken us back to times where they weren't as good.
And so Maher's audience, actually, some of them clapped for this, which I thought was great. But for the most part, they're like the View audience. You're not sitting in Bill Maher's audience as a conservative, rarely. But they kind of had to clap for this one because it made all the sense in the world. Then he goes on.
And how can we not? Oh, I am. My wife is. I've been black my whole life.
Yes.
So far, still. My wife is white, and we have 3 biracial children, and I cannot wait to show them and take them to places that wasn't always the case. There was a time when your mother and daddy could not be married. My children are going to have the opportunity to be second lining down in New Orleans, and then my wife is from Iowa. They'll be on a farm with their grandfather in Iowa. That is America,
Yes.
and I do not want to take down these statues and change the names of these buildings because they're a reminder of what was, and if we don't remember it, we are doomed to repeat it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Bill Maher. Okay. Well, that didn't work. Yeah. And no, it didn't. But I don't know why it is or what it is about these white liberals who are constantly trying to tell black people how to feel and what they should feel, and trying to sick black people onto white people, and even onto, in this case, monuments, names, and statues. It's pretty crazy. Okay, says Bill Maher. Well, nice try, buddy. You got a guy who's got 20 times the IQ you have. And believe me, when I say Bill Maher has a low IQ, I totally mean it. I mean, I know a lot of us think, oh, he's an intellectual comedian. He's a this, he's a that. Nah, no, he's not. This is great proof. So this is a bit from Bill Maher where he is going after the Interior Secretary. This is about all the rollbacks, the cafe standards, and all this loony climate stuff. But listen to Bill Maher, and I think you'll be able to understand just how really super dumb that he is.
Doug Burnham, he's the Interior Secretary. Listen to this, the way they all line up behind this nonsense. He said, CO2, carbon, was never a pollutant. He said, when we breathe, we emit CO2. Okay, Doug, you know what? Let's try this little experiment. Tonight, when you get home, go in the garage, close the door, turn the car on, and let's see if carbon is a pollutant, okay?
So you guys know what's wrong with that statement, right? Of course you do. Because Bill Maher doesn't know the difference between carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. And neither does apparently his entire audience. And neither do all of his writers. He has no idea that there's a difference between carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. And actually, it's an extra atom to if you want to get right down to it. But that's how stupid Bill Maher is. And the way that he approached this with this utmost confidence in and his arrogance in being so intelligent, and it's the dumbest thing. So what he did was, and you really can't do this. There's carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, there's CO2 and CO. The 2 being the extra atom, which makes it carbon dioxide. But he just calls it carbon. Well, it's carbon. It's like, no, Bill, it's not carbon. And I'm telling you, there are people who are 10 years old who know the difference between carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. Just crazy. So I think we pretty much finished Bill Maher, don't you think? On this President's Day. Speaking of that, I've got an old gem from my favorite president besides Donald J. Trump. All that's coming up, and don't forget the President Trump bobblehead is going to be going soon. Welcome to the 3 Martini Lunch.
News, analysis,
I'm glad you're talking about this.
opinion.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too, because I know I am.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, Schneider's True Value Hardware Store. And I know you guys are in that situation where you're thinking about planting, because the weather's going to be getting you outside, and you're thinking about your garden. I was looking at my garden today. I'm thinking, I could probably work on that this week a little bit. I don't know. And so, get it all ready and everything. And so when you have these things you're doing outside, and you're starting to kind of maybe think about spring cleaning and then spring repairing and all that kind of stuff, you'll want Schneider's True Value Hardware Store to be able to supply you with all the tools necessary and even the advice to get all of those wonderful things you want to do around the house done. Schneider's True Value Hardware, more than 100 years right there in Old Town St. Peters, and so that is very, very cool. I've never heard of a hardware store around that long, but they have been there. And also they are the dealers as well as the repairers and the parts suppliers of all things steel. Have you heard about the steel, STIHL line of battery-operated yard tools and everything else? Really cool. And when it comes to a lot of the battery-operated stuff, sometimes the quality is so downhill, but not with steel. And Schneider's has all the steel equipment you could possibly need. Strong supporters of free, common sense, conservative radio. It's Schneider's True Value Hardware right there in Old Town St. Peters. All you have to do is go to truevalue.com/Schneiders, truevalue.com/Schneiders.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator. Did Pete Hegseth commit a war crime, in your opinion?
No. My only concern is that we're not getting enough drug boats. It's the first effective thing I can remember we've done to strike at these cartels, not only to take out particular shipments of drugs, but to deter others. And I'm not going to cry crocodile tears for any of them.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli, and my favorite sandwich from Capriati's is the Wagyu beef French dip. So good. It's the au jus that makes it. And the Wagyu beef is pretty good, too. I love Capriati's, and you will, too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
The boats are back at Missouri's premier boat and fishing show.
February 20th through 22nd at America Center.
Take advantage of screaming deals on hundreds of boats.
Check out wake surf and pontoon boats,
fishing boats and luxury cruisers,
personal watercraft, and more.
Enjoy non-stop entertainment.
Live stingrays, pro angler demos.
Get ready for fun in the sun
at the St. Louis Boat and Fishing Show.
February 20th through 22nd at America Center.
Go to stlouisboatshows.com for info. Kids are free.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Did Donald Trump and Republicans make everything great again over the weekend? We'll discuss with Senator Jim Talent at 4:25. At 5:25, Red State Headlines with Susie Moore.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy President's Day to all of you. I don't know what's going on. I woke up this morning. I'm like, do I have a cold? What the hell's going on here? I thought I was on this big health kick and taking care of myself and everything else, and then suddenly I feel like I'm blowing my nose and everything else. I don't have COVID or anything. I don't know. How I get that? I don't know how I got it either. I don't know anything about that. So, pardon my voice and everything else. I've been seeing a lot of people with masks on, particularly younger people. And I've kind of been patient with that. Because I always figure that maybe they're wearing a mask, not because they're just, kind of COVID freaks or something, but some people actually are like, can't get the flu. Like they can't get the flu, like they have and the flu is really bad this season, So I don't look at people with masks on like, oh, yeah. I'm thinking there's got to be a reason for it. Except for Mark Kaysen, he has no excuse to wear. He's wearing a mask while he's driving still and all that stuff. I haven't had him on in a while. I'll have to bring him back. Kathleen, you remember this song? I do too. This is the fabulous Buck Owens. You know, this is what we knew as the Bakersfield sound. You had the Nashville sound, and you had the Bakersfield sound. This is out there in California. The Bakersfield sound had the guys all dressed in rhinestone and fancy hats and fancy boots and everything else. And Buck Owens was a classic in that sense. And you know what's great is that he teamed up with Roy Clark. And I know maybe you might have heard me talk about this before, but I thought that was the real true miracle of Hee Haw. And it was such a wise move on the part of whoever came up with the concept to get Roy Clark and Buck Owens both hosting a show. So you had the Bakersfield sound melding with the Nashville sound and coming together. And that was really a great idea because then you were capturing all the kind of country influences of the country and throw in a few hot women and a few comedians and things like that. Grandpa Jones, who was a world-famous fiddler at the Grand Ole Opry, and you've got yourself a show, baby. So that was really cool. And also I remember Buck Owens because my dad introduced me to Buck Owens back in the day. My dad was a big Buck Owens fan. And so Saturday morning when I was a little kid, my dad would just stack up a bunch of records onto the console, and that's both. I actually have one. Somebody gave it to me, and I wanted to get it repaired. It's got some belt that has to be repaired, but I love it. But anyway, yeah, and Minnie Pearl, Julie, that's right, Minnie Pearl. You believe? I mean, first of all, the Minnie Pearl thing is so cool. The hat with the price tag still on it is just it's just proof you don't have to do much to howdy. You don't have to do much really to stand out, you know. Good old Minnie Pearl. I'm gonna have to start. I'm gonna probably doom scroll the rest of the day. Some Minnie Pearl. Look her up. That's what I do. You know, play some YouTube Pong, and suddenly by the time I'm done, I know everything there is to know about Minnie Pearl. But now you got my attention there, dear. So anyway, yeah, it's a little price tag on the hat. I mean, it's very simple, but that's how she is remembered. But anyway, so my dad would put, 9 or 10 records, stack them up on that console, and then they would just drop all day long. You never had to change it. It was the first CD player, the multi-disc CD player ever, which was the just drop those records and they would just play all Saturday. And probably by the time it'd be like about 10 o'clock in the morning till about 2 would be nonstop music. It was great, and that's what I remember. And what's funny is my dad's appreciation of music was so eclectic. So you would have Buck Owens, and then the next one to drop would be like Andre Castellanos, A Little Night Music. And the next thing to drop would be like, the soundtrack to South Pacific. Or actually Camelot was his jam, to tell you the truth. And also Man of La Mancha. So it was one of those that would come around. And then you'd have something else, like Tito Puente or something, or the Tijuana Brass would come on, So those were great days. And the great thing about it is I have all of his records, which is really cool. And I have them all. I saved them all. I don't know why I'm the youngest of 6, but nobody else wanted them. But so I have all those records that I listened to when I was 8. And actually one of them, because I heard Tim and Chris talking about to Bob Onder, and I'll have to get him on the air about this. Bob Onder is trying to get the Fulton that where Churchill visited down there in Fulton, trying to get that as a historic place and in the historic record. I'm surprised it hasn't already been there. I'm really surprised. Anyway, I came in today, and I was telling Joey, who was obviously producing the show there, and he was in there, and I said, yeah, I have this, it's one of my dad's records, because my dad also has, like, the Edward R. Murrow, hear it now, that kind of thing, and then some presidential speeches and that kind of stuff, and then he has this one really cool, like, 5-record set. I think it's 5. I'll bring it in and show it to you. They're like 78s. And so it's a big 5-record set. And it is Churchill's speech to Congress back, I think, in 1942. It was literally like the day after Christmas. I think it was December 26, 42. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't really know the date. But the records are in pristine shape. And I guess back in those days, that was how they were able to kind of get it out there. And so they put Churchill's speech to Congress on vinyl. And it just so happens my dad had it, and now I do. So that's pretty cool. And I do have a little record player because actually Lily buys records, interestingly enough. And she was thrilled I had a record player. I was like, yeah, I have a record player. And my 15-year-old is buying records. It's like, okay, that's pretty old school. So speaking of old recordings, I have something for you, and it'll take place in at the top of the next hour. And since it's President's Day, I want to lay on you one of, well, my favorite president, aside from President Trump, who unfortunately wasn't really listened to back in the day when I think America needed to listen to him. And that is a shame. But, I do have it's the first time a president was ever recorded on film as well as audio. The first time a president was ever recorded on film as well as audio. And he was filmed right there on the front lawn of the White House. And so I'll have that for you in full on the other side of this. And don't also forget, that's probably going to be the time I'm going to be giving away the President Trump bobblehead. And of course, if you can see it, you can see it. And he's kind of hugging the American flag. It's really super cool. And it's a Trump 24 bobblehead. And so I'll be giving that away close to the top of the next hour for you. And what we'll do is I'll take phone calls and things like that and be able to give it away that way to you. And we'll name a caller and everything else, and then Ashlyn will take care of that. So that'll be what we're going to do, people, coming up next. And also, again, mourning the death of Robert Duvall at the age of 95 years old. What a man. What a great actor. Love that guy. It's a 3-martini lunch on this President's Day. It's Common Sense Radio. The Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Big star, 'cause I can play the part.
2026, a great time to visit Lit Cigar Lounge. The Lit Cigar Facebook has numerous events from tastings to music. My main reason for going to Lit is always quality cigars, premium whiskeys. Odds are we'll see each other at Lit Cigar Lounge. A few doors down, Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta. Get a pizza baked over coals. Excellent crust and flavor. Or choose one of the many great pasta dishes. You won't leave hungry. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta and Lit Cigar Lounge in the Chesterfield Valley.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rates you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
They served our country with honor. Now it's our turn to serve them. Join the freedom13.org for an unforgettable gala honoring America's heroes, February 27th at the Foundry Arts Center in St. Charles. A special evening supporting Freedom 13's bold mission, 50 camps in 50 states on more than 50,000 acres, building 650 homes for veterans, police, and their families. Tickets and sponsorship opportunities are available now. Visit thefreedom13.org. That's thefreedom13.org.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has met with Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban in Budapest as the two countries signed a civilian nuclear cooperation deal. Rubio says Hungary can expect ongoing support from the U.S.
If you face financial struggles, if you face things that are impediments to growth, if you face things that threaten the stability of your country, I know that President Trump will be very interested because of your relationship with him.
Iran's top diplomat has held talks with the UN nuclear watchdog in Geneva ahead of this week's talks between Iran and the United States over that country's nuclear program.
Oman is hosting U.S.-Iran talks in Geneva on Tuesday. The talks come after President Trump moved another aircraft carrier to the region. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said it's too early to tell if the talks will amount to any concrete changes.
They'll have meetings. We'll see what happens.
Iran launched a drill in the maritime area around Iran on Monday for the second time in weeks. State TV said it was a drill testing Iran's intelligence and operational capabilities.
That is Karen Chamis reporting. Julie Walker reports California is just one of many states set for more winter weather.
The National Weather Service warning of a winter storm for parts of California stretching through the week. Meteorologist Jacob Spender in Sacramento says expect up to 8 feet of snow in higher elevations, a foot in lower-lying communities, along with showers and thunderstorms in the valley.
Heed any advisories or warnings or anything like that, because we are expecting major impacts, which is a result from the heavy snow combined with the windy conditions, especially up in the mountains.
The Weather Service also warning of major travel impacts.
Pack winter safety kits, anything to be prepared.
This winter storm could also affect parts of Nevada and Oregon. I'm Julie Walker.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Have you noticed losing weight is harder than it used to be? You're eating better and exercising, but the scale barely moves? The real problem isn't willpower, it's metabolic dysfunction. And standard dieting just makes it worse. PhD Weight Loss has helped thousands fix the root cause of stubborn weight. Take their free metabolic assessment at fixmyweightloss.com. Fixmyweightloss.com. It's quick, personalized, and shows why your body is resisting weight loss, so you know exactly what to fix. Visit fixmyweightloss.com. That's fixmyweightloss.com.
From Lionsgate and Kingdom Story Company.
I Can Only Imagine by Mercy Me, one of the most beloved songs of all time.
I mean, what did you think was going to happen? You're just going to ride off into the sunset? No more struggles or pain?
Comes the highly anticipated I Can Only Imagine 2.
God is in fire. I mean, it's beautiful.
Imagine what God can do again. I Can Only Imagine 2. In theaters this Friday. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
What a comfortable day out there. Temperatures in the low to mid 60s today. Nice breeze. It gets a little cloudy, but these are high, thin clouds and not really a problem for us. So a beautiful day today, and temperatures all week are going to be spring-like. Lows tonight in the 50s, breezy and 65 tomorrow under mostly cloudy skies. staying breezy and near a record high on Wednesday, 73. Rain, possibly a thunderstorm by Thursday. I'm First Alert KMOV meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Hey everybody, Senator Eric Schmidt here, inviting you to the statewide Lincoln Day celebration, February 20th through the 22nd. It's going to be a great weekend with fellow patriots. We'll talk about how we're going to continue to save this country, deliver on President Trump's agenda, and also celebrate America 250. So join us there. It'll be a lot of fun.
Learn more about the 2026 Lincoln Days and get tickets at Missouri.gop. That's Missouri.gop. Paid for by the Missouri Republican Party. Jennifer Finch, Treasurer.
The world's best athletes, the biggest stage, the thrill of competition. News Talk STL brings you Winter Game updates 4 times every weekday. Get the latest results, medal counts, and top stories from the games. Stay connected to all the action as our athletes go for the gold. Brought to you by Corel Roofing and Best Buy Flooring. Details at newstalkstl.com.
Want to work with a winner? Follow the multiplier. 279 times growth in total market cap in the past nearly 30 years. 50 times growth in client assets. And ranked the #1 wealth management firm for employee advisor satisfaction by J.D. Power 3 years in a row. Choose a winner. Choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated. Member SIPC and NYSE. For J.D. Power 2025 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk. Live and local.
I need to know what's going on in my city.
News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy President's Day to all of you and yours. It's Common Sense Radio. And the 3 Martini Lunch. Jamie Allman here and Ashlyn over there. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, so this is what we're going to do. So on this President's Day, we have this beautiful bobblehead. It's a President Trump bobblehead. He's hugging the American flag. It's classic. It's great. It's heavy. I mean, it's not like these bobbleheads. This is a sturdy one right here. And so we've got a phone number, and it is 314-912-1019, 314-912-1019. And if you are the 5th caller, said bobblehead will be yours. Fun little item there. So, President's Day is kind of a cool day. I'm glad we still have it. I'm surprised that in all the times when they were erasing stuff, you know, and canceling and pulling statues down and doing really what terrorists do when they go into a country. They want to dismantle all of the historical references, all of the things that are important to a civilized society, whatever. And so what they do is they want to dismantle it in order to just erase it. And so they can create it in their own image. That's what terrorists do. They did it in Iraq. They do it in other places as well, and that's how it goes. And so, yeah, you do have a situation where I'm surprised that President's Day has stayed as long as it has stayed. I'm surprised they didn't try to rename it or do whatever. And obviously, it seems to be more focused on Lincoln and Washington, right? Because they're birthdays, and you kind of combine them, and so they figured they'd do one thing. But the fact of the matter is, I think it's a real credit to us that we haven't had anybody try to erase that. That is for sure. All right, so aside from President Trump being clearly is going to go down in history as my favorite president. My other favorite president is the great Calvin Coolidge. Calvin Coolidge was super cool and super conservative. A lot of people in the conservative realm see Calvin Coolidge as a real standard bearer. So it's really very cool about all that. So I love the fact that he is a mainstay in conservative circles, even though some people don't automatically conjure his name. Ashlyn, do we have a winner? Who is that?
His name is Daniel.
Daniel. All right. Is Daniel there? Hello, Daniel. Welcome to the show, and congratulations on winning the President Trump bobblehead. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. I appreciate you listening to the Allman Report and being here with us at News Talk STL. How long have you been a listener, my friend?
Oh, a few years now.
Oh, good.
Ever since you guys started making sense.
Right on, because
after all, it is common sense.
Right on. You better believe it. We're going, I think, on our 5th anniversary coming up pretty soon. So, congratulations, Daniel. And how are you feeling about things these days, brother? What's your outlook like as it relates to our country and beyond?
Well, I'm not sure about the outlook, but I can tell you we don't have a better person in there than who's in there right now to run the place.
I totally agree. Have you well, while I have you here, I won't pry too much, but have you always voted Republican, or did you vote in every single presidential election, or what was your pattern up until, for instance, like 2016 came around?
Well, I used to typically vote for whoever I thought made the most sense and whoever talked about things I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Until Trump came, I was always a Trump fan, and once he came on there, then obviously I started paying a little bit more attention to what Democrats and Republicans were doing.
Yeah.
And then it makes more sense that the Democrats are just about Democrats, not about the people. So
yeah, I mean, and there are some Republicans like that too. I think that's been a really eye-opening ever since President Trump was elected, and that he exposed a lot of Republicans who were like, oh, you know what? You guys have been, now we know what you guys have been up to, because President Trump just kind of broke the mold there, which I think was really good for everybody and probably resulted in some better Republicans even being elected. So that's good news too, you know?
Yeah, I think the world, not just the country, but the world needed him to be in there.
Right on, right on. Well, Daniel, congratulations on winning the bobblehead, and of course, Ashton probably already let you know, or we'll let you know. You can just come pick it up here during business hours at News Talk STL. We'll have it waiting for you with your name on it.
I appreciate that.
All right, brother. That is Daniel listening to the Allman Report here on News Talk STL, and that's fabulous. All right. So, and by the way, later on, and I don't know, sometimes I don't know whether you guys like this or not, but I'm going to get a little Jesus-y with you on what Daniel and I were just talking about, and that was the uniparty and everything else. Something happened in the Sunday Mass, and it just so happens it was the gospel. It was a Matthew gospel about God's commandments that got me thinking about a few things and how to explain certain things that are actually going on in our political world right now. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. I love getting your reactions to it as well, to those kinds of things. Sometimes people, you might think, well, boy, that's a stretch, Allman. I don't know, but we'll see. Anyway, back to President Coolidge. So Calvin Coolidge was a super cool guy, a strong conservative. And what's interesting is as you're going to hear here, this was the first time that a president was ever recorded on both film and audio. And it was his speech on taxation and government. And to me, it is the most important speech that a president had ever given, to tell you the truth. You could talk about the Gettysburg Address. You could talk about anything you want to talk about. Gorbachev tear down that wall, whatever. But this speech, I believe, is or was the most important speech ever given by a president in history. And the sad thing is it was a speech that was also a warning, and it went ignored, which is why we're where we are right now. So anyway, you'll hear it here in a second. So just one quick thing. President Coolidge had this kind of squeaky voice. He kind of talked like this. And it's interesting because nowadays, with the exception of maybe like Ross Perot, right, who nowadays, people always have to be so polished and they always have to have, their voices intact and everything has to be, which is why actually there's a little fun fact for you. A lot of presidents, from like McKinley, when there is an audio recording of McKinley from Ohio. William McKinley was assassinated at the exposition in Buffalo in 1901. So, but anyway, these guys didn't have any examples like when they were recorded. Like they didn't have other recordings to listen to of how people spoke on tape. And so the only people that they had as an example of an orator were people who were on the stage, like actors and things like that, who were on the stage. And so they mimicked those people, which is why William McKinley, and I think you could also talk about Grover Cleveland and others, when they gave speeches, William McKinley would roll his R's. I can't even really do it, but he would roll his R's and be so proper in his oration because he didn't have any other examples other than people who were on stage doing the same thing. It's very interesting. Now, by the time we had 1924 rolling around, and this is where this was, there were plenty of recordings, but that didn't change. Of course, it was hard for people who were in the public eye to do public speaking successfully if they didn't have a great voice, which is why when the talkies came about, and before that, people were looking at silent film. And in silent film, well, it was silent. And suddenly, when the talkies came around and they started talking in the films, there was about half of the actors who never appeared in talkies, only in the silent film. You know why? Because some of the ladies were like squeaky voices and guys, they were actors, they were great actors, but when they opened their mouths, we were like, ugh, what is going on with that? And then that was the end of their careers, unfortunately. So that's just kind of a sidebar story. But Calvin Coolidge talked like this. You wouldn't ever think of him, but man, he is so good and so prescient in the kind of world we live in now. This was 10 years after the diabolical income tax came about. Ratified, you guys, 16th Amendment, I think it wasn't really fully ratified. I think it's a boondoggle. It's unconstitutional, the federal income tax is. And the founding fathers never had any idea of direct taxation from the federal government. It was always states taxing their citizens and then providing the framework for the federal government to be on a diet. The federal income tax ultimately wound up destroying this country, not helping it in any way, shape, or form. And Calvin Coolidge knew what it would do to regular American families, and he laid it out. Ladies and gentlemen, Calvin Coolidge.
The country needs every ounce of its energy to restore itself. The costs of government are all assessed upon the people. This means that the farmer is doomed to provide a certain amount of money out of the sale of his produce, no matter how low the price, to pay his taxes.
Yeah, so I'm not going to keep interrupting you, but I want to get the concept to you. And I'll never forget the look on Aiden's face when I told him that I work 2 out of the 5 days a week solely for the government. And you just have to choose which day you want to feel like you're working for the government. I work 2 out of the 5 days for the government, and you do too. Most of you do. So there are 2 days, 16 hours, or whatever you want to call it, that are solely devoted to you working for the government. You're not working for your family. You're not working for your car payment. You're not working for your mortgage. You're not working for your grocery bill. You're working for the government. And, of course, now we have discovered what the government has been doing with our money, right? Thanks to Doge, all the fraud, and half of the entitlements going to people not even born in this country. So we're being robbed is what we're doing on a regular basis, and we've accepted that. Even to the point where the government takes the money out of your paycheck even before you see the money. So if you look at it that way, your pay is first handled by the government. You don't get paid until the government does. What kind of legitimate constitutional republic is that? Or even before you see the money you work for, the government sees it first and takes a portion of it and then gives it to you. And, of course, the reason why they have those auto deductions is because they know what they're doing is theft. So they're gonna take it before you see it because they know you're not. If it were just up to you, you wouldn't pay that money. Well, or at least what would happen is you'd get angry. Talk to a small business person who has to pay quarterly taxes, which is what I have to do. Quarterly taxes. And then you'll see what it's all about. Because oftentimes you don't really see it, and the federal government knows that. They know what's going on here, and they know you'd be outraged if you knew just how much money they're stealing from you. And then, because you already know just how much money they're redistributing, you see stories about it every day. But when you think about that and how you're being, basically, your pants are being pulled down by this government, it ought to outrage you. And so 10 years after the federal income tax, Calvin Coolidge notices something. He's like, I know what's going to happen here, right? There are going to be people, farmers, people who are working, and then suddenly they're going to be working a certain portion of their day just for the government because it's going to balloon and they're going to keep having to.
The costs of government are all assessed upon the people. This means that the farmer is doomed to provide a certain amount of money out of the sale of his produce, no matter how low the price, to pay his taxes. The manufacturer, the professional man, the clerk must do the same from their income. The wage earner, often at a higher rate when compared with his earning, makes his contribution, perhaps not directly, but indirectly, in the advanced cost of everything he buys. The expenses of the government reach everybody. Taxes take from everyone a part of his earnings and force everyone to work for a certain part of his time for the government.
That was 100 years ago, 10 years after the federal income tax. And it was not only about the organized theft and the serfdom that Americans would ultimately be trapped in, because that's what we are. I don't know whether you've ever heard of a book called The Nation of Serfs. That's what we are. We're serfs. We're subjects. The British government didn't do nearly the kind of dastardly deeds to us back in the day than our current federal government is doing, with very few politicians willing to stop it. So at this point, too, it was about how not only are we working for the government, but we're basically on this hamster wheel because the government's going to keep spending and spending and spending. It's going to balloon. The deficit, everything else, all the spending is going to balloon, and we're just going to have to keep on feeding the beast. 1924.
When we come to realize that the yearly expenses of the governments of this country, the stupendous sum of about $7,500,000,000, we get some $100 million is needed by the national government and the remainder by local governments. Such a sum is difficult to comprehend. It represents all the pay of 5 million wage earners receiving $5 a day, working 300 days in the year. If the government should add $100 million of expense, it would represent 4 days more work of these wage earners. These are some of the reasons why I want to cut down public expense. I want the people of America to be able to work less for the government and more for themselves.
Yeah. But by then it was too late because the government already got a taste. The federal government's like, wow, we're just taking money from people. Why would we reduce our spending when all we have to do is take more? Why would we reduce our spending when we're just getting free money all the time? Let me ask you this. If you were getting free money all the time, would you spend it? Or would you try to curtail your spending? Well, you're a human being. You're like, well, naturally, if I just had an endless supply of money, why would I need to curtail my spending? There's no incentive for me to curtail my spending. If I'm receiving a steady supply of money, there's no reason for me to curtail my spending. In fact, I also have the ability, since I know I can already take it, I could spend even more. And if the money that's coming in isn't enough, then I'll just take more from the people. So at this point, sadly enough, it's almost wants to make you cry looking at Calvin Coolidge standing there bravely warning that we're going to be in the future just a bunch of serfs to the government if we can't curtail spending. But by then, everybody's laughing at him. All the politicians, of course, Congress, everybody. Ha! You hear Coolidge? Yeah. He says we need to curtail spending. Why? When we're just taking it from people. So it's sad because Calvin Coolidge, in his innocence, is saying we need to curtail spending. Why do you think that we have the national debt that we do? Why do you think that Republicans and Democrats have failed to curtail spending, with the exception of President Trump coming in, have failed to curtail spending? Why do you think that they've failed to curtail spending? Because they don't have to. They don't have to.
I want them to have the rewards of their own industry. This is the chief meaning of freedom. Until we can reestablish a condition under which the earnings of the people can be kept by the people, we are bound to suffer a very severe and distinct curtailment of our liberty.
Right. We're not free. We live in a representative republic, but we're far from free. I'm not dumping on the country. I'm dumping on the politicians that spent decades curtailing our freedoms through their reckless spending and their theft. So we could talk about liberty and freedom and all this kind of stuff and justice for all too, right? And there's none of that, or very limited supplies of it in our country right now. I'm not trying to be a killjoy here. I'm just telling you the truth here. And that's why Calvin Coolidge is a brilliant conservative, because he understands what true freedom is. Unfortunately, what happened is we go on and on into the political history, and very few Republicans even talk like Calvin Coolidge anymore. President Trump does. President Trump, in fact, said, "Hey, Elon, let's cut all the spending and take our spending down." There are spending in other ways, though. I understand that with Ukraine, all this other nonsense. But yeah, I mean, and the decisions like getting involved in Ukraine, other decisions are made because they have unlimited supplies of money to spend on these forays. If they didn't have it and depended on Missouri's percentage of income taxes paid to the federal government, we wouldn't have engaged in half the wars that we engaged in because we couldn't afford it. So decisions are made based on that.
These results are not fanciful. They are not imaginary. They are grimly actual and real, reaching into every household in the land. They take from each home annually an average of over $300, and taxes must be paid. They are not a voluntary contribution to be met out of surplus earnings. They are a stern necessity. They come first. It is only out of what is left after they are paid that the necessities of food, clothing, and shelter can be provided and the comforts of home secured, or the yearnings of the soul for a broader and more abundant life gratified. When the government effects a new economy, it grants everybody a life pension with which to raise the standard of existence. It increases the value of everybody's property and raises the scale of everybody's wages. One of the greatest favors that can be bestowed upon the American people is economy in government.
There he's done, takes his glasses off, and the political structure of 1924 are like, whatever, Calvin. Great speech. Too bad what you just said is never going to happen. Hope you feel better about it anyway. And nobody listened to Calvin Coolidge. And so Calvin Coolidge, by the time 28 rolled around, he's like, I'm not running again. Let somebody else handle this diabolical theft machine. And let somebody else handle this. I'm not going to do it. And we got Hoover. But he just quit. Calvin Coolidge is like, nobody's listening to me. This is frustrating. And I guess you could say, well, he should have hung in there. It's like, nobody's listening to him. It's driving him crazy. So he just quit. One term, that's it. Boom, over. But this was the most important presidential speech ever given in history as far as I'm concerned. It always will be. By the way, take an example when it comes time for there to be real savings. So President Trump gives real savings. At one point, there is this idea that maybe every family is going to get $1,000 that pays taxes to get $1,000 back. So what happened when fake conservative Steve Scalise was asked about that? Remember what his answer was? Well, I don't know about that. There are plenty of bills that we're going to have to pay before we give people that money. So even when there is a savings and there is maybe not a need to spend all the money they're stealing from us, the government will still try to keep it. And by the way, Republicans will do that too, keep it and not give it back. So not only is it organized theft, but when they get busted or they have to readjust or do whatever, they're never going to give it back. They'll always covet the money they steal from us. So there's your President's Day joy there with Calvin Coolidge. To me, the greatest president who ever lived, aside from President Trump. Kamala Harris has a long-lost daughter. Did you guys know that? Yeah. She wound up in Munich. I'll have that for you on the other side here. This is Common Sense Radio.
Taking calls. Now what was the question? I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Oh, yes, all the pests are right now thinking, oh, look, fellow spider or whatever it is, it's getting warmer and everything else, and let's go ahead and pop into Allman's attic. How does that sound? Love babies and have a good old time up there. Well, you know what? Not so fast. Buckingham Pest Control has a brand new attack for the pests, a lot of them going inside your attic. It's sometimes it's easily accessible. Everything else, at least for the pests anyway. And so enter Noel Buckingham Pest Control, and the TAP insulation, TAP. T for thermally superior, A for acoustically superior, and P for a proprietary pest control element of the insulation. Isn't that cool? It's insulation that is also a pest repellent and a pest controller. That's pretty cool. And plus, you're going to get a rebate from Spire when you put it in your house. And Noel Buckingham will be able to do that for you, lickety-splickety. Also, you might be thinking about all the ways that you're going to be enjoying the outdoors and the patio or the pool or whatever. And so what did you do? You kept on going to Walmart or whatever it was, buying the cans of Off, spraying it all over your body. Heaven knows what's in that thing. And you want to be mosquito-free. You can be mosquito-free without having to do all that stuff and spray that smelly stuff all over your body. All you have to do is get Noel out there to come and do a mosquito treatment for you for your outdoors so you can enjoy the spring and the summer without getting bitten. So for all of your pest control needs, Buckingham Pest Control, strong supporter of free common sense conservative radio because he's been with me going on 20 years now. I mean, off and on, depending on the show, whatever. But I've known him since he almost started his business. And he's a great guy, very personable. All of his people are just really nice and attentive, and his prices are amazing. BuckinghamPestControl.com, BuckinghamPestControl.com.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore with a reminder that for 20 years, Harpo's Chesterfield has been the heart of West County's fun. With their award-winning patio, voted best in West County, and excellent sports bar atmosphere, Harpo's is your one-stop destination. The mouth-watering menu has made them famous throughout St. Louis. Plus, they've got great drink specials and the friendliest, most energetic staff around. Whether you're dining in or carrying out, Harpo's delivers fun, food, and drinks like no one else. Harpo's Chesterfield. Call 636-537-1970 or visit harposstl.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
It is unacceptable that our government comes in and takes people off the streets. Ice out now!
Conditions in the labor market appear to be gradually cooling, and inflation remains somewhat elevated.
How are we supposed to feed our families?
Daily information from the Israeli armed forces about preparativeness here in Israel.
101.9 and 94.1.
You're the most reliable station I know. St. Louis is number one.
For conservative talk.
News Talk STL. Listen all day President's Day for your chance to win a Trump bobblehead from News Talk STL.
And by the way, call my hat guy. Let's make this a thing.
Stay tuned for your chance to win.
That I can tell you.
Only on News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, Essen over there, and she gave me a reason to be happier because at first I thought maybe I'm sick or whatever because it just happened. And then Ashton's like, you might have seasonal allergies. I think you have allergies too, though, don't you, Ashton? Yeah. I never thought I did. When I was a kid, I had asthma. I had to do the inhaler and all that kind of stuff. Like mold would give me like asthma attacks and stuff. I remember one time being down, I think we had a family, my family, aunts and uncles and stuff. We had a clubhouse down in Herman, Missouri, along the Gasconade River. It's where I shot my first gun. My dad's 38, and I still have to this day. And my ears were ringing for like 5 hours after I shot that thing. Anyway, we were down there, and when I was outside, especially in the woods, it usually was when I had a hard time breathing. And so I remember having like a mini asthma attack down there, and we didn't have anything. Like I didn't have an inhaler or anything at the time. And so my dad, I remember him giving me a shot of whiskey. And I was probably about 8 or 9 years old, I think. I don't know. Can't remember. But gave me a shot of whiskey. And I thought that the whiskey was like going to go down into my chest and like dissolve all the whatever was in my chest. And then I realized many years later that it was really kind of designed to put me to sleep. So they basically were drugging me to get me to sleep. Kathleen says, yeah, that's what they gave us for everything. Yeah, and you don't realize that actually it's really just if you go to sleep and you're not going to have to struggle with your asthma, I mean, it's not like you're going to die. Because part of the problem when you have, asthma attacks and things like that is the fact that you can't relax. And so a lot of it is you kind of panic because you're feeling like you can't breathe and all that kind of stuff. So when you're at rest, when you're asleep, when you're sedated, so to speak, the anxiety and all the angst that makes things worse kind of goes away. So I figure that out. So that's how it is. But anyway, I just never thought of myself as having allergies, but maybe I do, and I hope that's the case. All right. So did you guys know that Kamala Harris apparently has a daughter because she popped up in Munich, Germany, of all places. And she doesn't have the same last name. It's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Because apparently they graduated from the same school of ditzes because Ocasio-Cortez just absolutely couldn't have been more unintelligible in Munich. And here's one where I don't even know what she's saying. I mean, she sounds so stupid. And basically, you could almost see, somebody described it as her short-circuiting mid-rant when she's trying to explain to the people in Munich there how whiteness is actually imaginary.
There's a very big difference between whiteness and national, like your actual culture, right?
Okay, right? Because that's what Kamala does, right? And here's the thing, before I let her finish whatever it is that she's saying, she and Kamala both do the same thing, right? And I'm doing it right now, right? They right? They do remember the cartoons we used to watch when we were kids? Follow the bouncing ball. And there'd be songs on the cartoons, and there would be a ball that bounces on top of each word when you're supposed to say it or sing it or do whatever. And there's always the announcer who's like, follow the bouncing ball. And so when Ocasio-Cortez and Kamala both speak, they speak like this, and they bounce their hands up and bounce it up and down. Every time they say something, their hand bounces on the word because they try to kind of keep up with their synapses for fear of their synapses taking the A train to Toledo, which is oftentimes what it does when Kamala and Ocasio-Cortez. It's amazing how strikingly similar they are. You can see when they're talking how they can't figure out how to leave breadcrumbs from one point to the next, and so they get lost and almost forget even what they're saying midway through. It must be very frustrating to be that imbalanced. And Nancy Pelosi used to do that too, so it must be just a thing. But anyway, what I'm sorry, Ocasio-Cortez, what are you saying again?
And national, like your actual culture, right? Whiteness is an imaginary thing. Being German is real. Being Italian is real. Being English. These are rich cultural heritages that are based on values, and they are so much a part of what make our cultures and our societies what they are.
And by the way, make sure you get an advanced copy of my next book, says Ocasio-Cortez, called I'm an Idiot. So it's interesting because Ocasio-Cortez actually, what if she had said that being black or Hispanic or black or brown is imaginary? Like, what if she would have said that? And you notice she didn't say anything about being American. You did notice that, right? So you can tell when I don't really exactly. I couldn't. Somebody else is going to have to basically diagram that mess. But I think in reading it, she's basically putting down white people and white America as basically not being true heritage. That's what she's saying. I mean, I might be wrong, so I'm going to leave open that possibility because I really don't know what she's saying. But basically, she's saying, well, you're German, you're Italian, you're this. So, but being American, that's what's code for white. You know that, right? Yeah. But being American is being white is imaginary, meaning code for being American is imaginary. But you guys, you Germans, you Italians, you other people, now that's rich heritage right there. And it's interesting because Ocasio-Cortez wouldn't actually be living in the United States of America if we were as covetous about our American heritage as she's indicating Italians and Germans have been, although they're not because they're allowing mass migration, so they're not exactly covetous of their heritage. But if Americans really wanted to be just like Germans or Italians or Norwegians or whatever, they would never have allowed anybody from a foreign country to come here once Americans were here. Never would have done that. So this is, it's not only really dumb, it just is unintelligible. I mean, you know what she's insinuating, you just don't know exactly what she's saying. Then, of course, this one, which I'm sure you heard already, this is her, I don't even know why she's there. I mean, any more than Hillary is there. I don't know. So she's asked about China and Taiwan, which is, of course, should be easy for her to answer. But once again, half her brain took the A train to Toledo on this one.
And should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is a
unbelievable. What an embarrassment. And most of the people sitting in the audience are like, hello? Like, what's going on? And I was trying to figure out when I was looking at the video, I was thinking to myself, does she have like an earpiece in or something? Is she trying to wait for somebody to tell her the answer? But if they were telling her the answer, whatever she came out of her mouth as her answer wasn't a legitimate answer. So I'm trying to look really closely to see whether or not she has some kind of earpiece in because she's listening for an answer.
I think that this is such a, I think that this is a, this is, of course, a very longstanding policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
I'm sorry. You guys have any other answer to that? Because we all know exactly when it comes to this policy, it's been a long-standing policy that we are protective of Taiwan. I do understand from her perspective how we don't want to actually get into the point of that confrontation, but man, it took her long enough, you know what I mean? All right, it's Common Sense Radio. Welcome to the show. Happy President's Day. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. We keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about my friends at the Gemini Wealth Group, the GeminiWealthGroup.com. It is super important for you guys, as you are, and gals, obviously, considering retirement, to make sure that you're comfortable. I mean, retirement isn't supposed to be a burden. It isn't supposed to be something where it's like, oh, I got to retire. You know, you need to have confidence in your retirement process. You need to have confidence in the fact that you're going to be all set to not only live off the investments that the Gemini Wealth Group will make with your portfolio to the point where you're just living off the dividends. And that is really a super cool thing. And then eventually, maybe down the line, you hit into the main portfolio. But the strategy here, because the Gemini Wealth Group is very, very good at said strategy, the strategy here is a situation where, hey, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I am going to need a permission slip, I guess, to retire. Because that's what Kristen, when she was in, was telling me. She's part of the 5-member group, the Gemini Wealth Group. And these are all experts. You're getting more than 100 years in all of this about that. So I'm telling you, that is 100 years of experience. So what happens is they say, listen, you can untether yourself from a paycheck. It's going to be safe. We're going to invest your portfolio. We're going to diversify it. And we're just not going to throw it all around the map. We're going to diversify it to the point where we've got a plan to do just that. We're going to diversify it and make sure the maximum amount of money is going to come back to you in dividends. We're also going to plan for your housing and for all your medical costs and all those kinds of things so that your golden years can be truly golden. So go ahead, pull the trigger. It's all right. They'll give you that permission slip at the GeminiWealthGroup.com, the GeminiWealthGroup.com.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobbler's, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Colombo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on Newstalk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio. Jamie Allman here with you. Happy President's Day to all of you and yours. And in other ditzes in Munich news. Hillary Clinton was inexplicably there at the Munich Security Conference. This is a woman who wouldn't know security if it dropped on her head. Benghazi, remember? Yeah, okay. So anyway, there's and she didn't have like a free skate there. I mean, a lot of people might have been afraid to confront Ocasio-Cortez on her idiocy, but not the Czechoslovakian deputy prime minister who they were talking about gender, and Hillary she didn't have a very good skate with this deputy prime minister. He constantly got up in her grill about things that were coming out of her mouth. This one is about gender.
We saw the cancel culture. We saw the woke revolution. I don't agree with the gender revolution, the climate alarmism.
Which gender? Women having their rights? Let Peter go on.
I think there are two genders. So, but some of us think that there is more than one or more than two gender. I think there is male and female, and the rest probably is a social construct. So this is something that went too far.
But does that justify selling out the people of Ukraine who are on the front lines dying to save their freedom and their two genders, if that's what you're worried about?
This is typical Hillary Clinton, who is so witchy sometimes about things. She's so intellectually dishonest about this kind of thing. And she doesn't really want to answer the question about the two genders thing. But.
Can I please finish my points? I'm sorry that it makes you nervous. I'm really sorry for that.
It makes me nervous. It makes me
but seriously. Yeah, and even the moderator was like, Hillary, why don't you just shut up for a second and let's figure this out. And by the way, in closing, speaking of the genders and that kind of thing, the Silence of the Lambs has apparently now officially been canceled as a transphobia film. And so Ted Levine is the main character. He's the murderer, right? And basically, it's a guy. It's the character is a Buffalo Bill. Sexual orientation is not officially stated, but it's been viewed as gender nonconforming and identifying as trans. So Ted Levine is now saying, well, I have conflicting, because, basically this person had the hopes of transitioning into a woman, the murderer. So now Ted Levine, who played that character, is telling the Hollywood Reporter that, I don't know, I'm having conflicting feelings about the movie now. And so I didn't play him as being gay or trans. I think he was just a heterosexual man. That's what I was doing. But people are starting to pick apart now Silence of the Lambs, and now people are saying that it actually is offensive to transgender people, and so now it's basically in the form of losing its favor even in Hollywood. So we'll see how that whole thing goes. Did you guys know that Sean Connery turned down the role as Hannibal Lecter? Sean Connery. Pretty crazy. So did Gene Hackman. But I don't think anybody is Hannibal Lecter except for the great Anthony Hopkins, right? In hindsight, no way. All right, you guys have a great rest of your President's Day. Ashland, thank you so much. Tony Colombo and Company straight ahead on News Talk STL.
When it comes to heating, cooling, and refrigeration, trust the family that's been keeping St. Peter's comfortable since 1974. Hey, it's Susie Moore, and DL Pranger HVAC is small enough to care, experienced enough to deliver. Got a competitor's bid? They'll beat it by 20%, guaranteed. From home HVAC to commercial refrigeration, beer caves to restaurant coolers, DL Pranger does it all. Licensed, insured, and 100% customer satisfaction guaranteed. Call 314-640-9617 or find them on Facebook. That's 314-640-9617.
Hi, this is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the region's largest RE/MAX real estate brokerage. It is cold outside, but the real estate market is hot. This is a great time to buy or sell a home. Interest rates are also declining, which gives you more buying power. Someday is not a day on the calendar, but today is. Call me at 314-852-8933 for a free custom home buying plan. 314-852-8933.
Sometimes it seems all lawmakers do is tax and spend. That's why Missouri voters passed the Hancock Amendment in 1980 to place a limit on what the government can do with your money. But the Hancock Amendment is outdated. It hasn't provided a taxpayer refund since 1999 and probably won't without reform. That's why Missouri needs a taxpayer Bill of Rights. Colorado has one, and taxpayers there have received more than $8 billion in refunds. It's simple. There should be limits on government spending and refunds when there's a surplus in the state budget. A taxpayer Bill of Rights constitutional amendment would help limit the growth of government. Missouri's budget has nearly doubled in the past 5 years, yet the state lags far behind states like Colorado in economic growth. The Hancock Amendment was supposed to protect taxpayers. Now it's time for an update and a taxpayer Bill of Rights. After all, it's your money. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
KLGY HD3 Clay, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. There are no signs a partial government shutdown will end anytime soon. Here's correspondent Greg Cluxton.
Democrats in the White House appear dug into their positions in the battle over federal immigration efforts. Democrats are demanding changes to how immigration operations are conducted, but President Trump and his team are resistant to several of their demands. The impasse has led to a pause in funding for the Department of Homeland Security, affecting the TSA, FEMA, the Coast Guard, and the Secret Service, among other agencies. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio has met with Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban in Budapest. The two countries today signed a civilian nuclear cooperation deal. California is just one of the many parts of the country forecast to get another winter storm this weekend, and that means some high snow if you're up there in the mountains.
If you are up in the higher elevations or the highest elevations within the Sierra, the coastal range, and those areas like the Southern Cascades as well, we're looking at 4 to 8 feet. But then as we get down to around 2,500 to 3,500 feet, we're looking at around a range of 1 to 2 feet and up to a foot as we get down to 1,500 to 2,500 feet.
That's forecaster Jacob Spencer with the National Weather Service. A strong storm system brought tornado watches and widespread damage across the southeast on Sunday. The National Weather Service reported some of the worst damage near Lake Charles, Louisiana. Oscar-winning actor Robert Duvall has died. He won an Academy Award as Best Actor for portraying the over-the-hill country music singer in the 1983 film Tender Mercies. He also won 4 Golden Globe Awards during his career, including one for playing the philosophical cattle drive boss in the 1989 miniseries Lonesome Dove, a role he often cited as his favorite. Duvall was 95. More from townhall.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell, definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. Do you feel stupid for buying a timeshare? Don't. It's not your fault. You were most likely told you could rent it, and it was a great financial investment. And the deal was available today only. If this happened to you, contact your resort or Wesley Financial Group for help today.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-242-3131. 800-242-3131.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. After my husband died, the last thing I wanted to think about was money. Ethos